All right. Call to order the Monday, September 25th meeting of council at the South Edwardsburg Community Center here in Johnstown. The next item on our agenda is the approval of our agenda. Are there any changes to our agenda today? All right, hearing none, then I believe Deputy Mayor Dillabaugh, you have the approval of the agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself and seconded by Councilor Martel. The municipality council approves the agenda as presented.
All in favor of approval of the agenda? Good. Disclosure, pecuniary interest and or conflict of interest in the general nature thereof. Does anyone have any disclosures or conflicts of interest to declare? Right, hearing none, we'll move on to delegations. There are none. We'll move on to number 5, which is consent agenda. Items listed under consent agenda are considered routine and no longer require a further discussion and are enacted in one motion. The exception to this rule is that it may request that one or more items be pulled for discussion and voted on separately. Does anyone have any item that they would like removed from consent agenda? Okay, hearing none, I have one, and it's just I have a question in regard to the minutes. So I'm going to request that item 5E, which is Committee of the Whole Administration and Operations, September 11th, 2023, be taken out, and that is item 8C. Okay, so then we still move consent agenda, correct?
Through the chair of the remaining items unless there's any more requests for this meeting.
All right. And so I believe Councilor Ward, you have the motion to move consent agenda. There's nobody else wants anything else, correct? Okay, so Councilor Ward, you have consent agenda.
Yeah, I'm sorry, just strike this off and then we okay. All right, moved by myself and seconded by Councilor Waddy Smale that municipal council receives and approves the following consent agenda items as presented. A, regular council, August 28th, 2023. B, special council, September 18th, 2023. C, Port Management Committee, August 21st, 2023. D, Committee of the Whole, Community Development, September 5th, 2023. F, application for severance, 2717 Gooden Road, Polite. And G, 2023 Fire Department disposal of surplus goods.
Thank you, Councilor Ward. Okay, all in favor of passing consent agenda? Then we can move to business arising from the previous council meeting. No, right? We had this discussion last time. Yeah, okay. And so then we're going all the way down to C, which is what I asked to have pulled out. And my concern with 8C is the clearness of the reporting out of closed session. Not clear on which item the direction was given. I completely understand as mayor that it is not my job to correct the minutes. The minutes are what was said during the meeting. But I believe in an openness and transparent fashion that it should indicate exactly which item direction was given. And I'm not sure in the way that that's written that it's clear. Is that fair? So I don't know how, I don't believe in changing minutes or fixing minutes, but I don't know that the intention to write them is the way that it was. So what can we do to make sure that I said what can we do to make sure that that reflects the accuracy of where direction is given?
Through the chair, we can refresh as to what happened on the report with CAO, and then revamp the minutes, and bring them back for approval next month, unless you want to try to wordsmith it.
I wasn't here for half of the discussion, so I just would like them to accurately make it really clear where the direction is actually given. That's my only input. So if we could see them again, maybe next week, does that work? Does that need to happen?
Through the chair, I would suggest that we just, take it back and do some minor adjustments to that report. You can add that to the clarity in the future of the next month.
Okay, so we'll see them next month. Thank you for that. I called the vote on consent agenda, yes. Sorry. Trying to keep up with my paperwork. Okay, so then we are on to the unmetered residential properties update, correct? Okay, so before you move that, Councillor Martel, I just asked for, again, just I continue to receive emails and questions in regard to the unmetered water. The reason I asked for it to be removed was I wasn't sure if there was somebody going to be here tonight for that. I wanted everyone to understand what exactly we had done during the committee of the whole discussion on that item. And I think the last thing I would say on my behalf is to staff. I don't think until it's passed at council, we can't actually go ahead and do what committee of the whole had suggested, correct?
Through the chair, that's correct. Normally it needs to be passed. Actions.
Yeah, and so the action that will be taken is clear at committee of the whole that a private contractor will be contacted and they will go in and look at the, I believe it's 12, right? 11 and 1 houses and we'll hear back after that happens, correct? But this has to happen before we can do that.
Correct. Normal is once that resolution passed, that's one thing, and then that action, that resolution. So then the next step should be taken.
Finalizing of what we've already done. Okay, perfect. So does anyone have any more comments on the unmetered or any sorry, not anymore, any comments on the unmetered water? I just wanted to pull the case of this and we're good. We're good. All right, so then I believe Councillor Martel, you have that item.
Moved by myself, seconded by Deputy Mayor Cynthia Guillemard, Municipal Council directs staff to schedule a private contractor to reassess residential properties currently being invoiced under unmetered rates and cover this expense under the Cardinal Water System Operations budget and direct staff to provide a report to council on the inspection findings once completed, as recommended by the Committee of the Whole Administration and Operations.
Thanks, Councillor Martel. Further comments or questions? Hearing and seeing none, I will call the question then. All in favor? Let's get it done. Okay, so 9D, employee benefit tender change to RFQ for broker services. Councillor Ward, I believe you have one.
Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Waddy Smiler, that Municipal Council 1 approve the change from tender of employee benefits to a request for quotation RFQ for broker services for the township and Port of Johnstown employees. And 2, direct staff to complete the RFQ process and report back to council with a formal recommendation at a regular council meeting on November 27th, 2023.
All right, discussion, questions, comments.
Yeah. So with this quote, I mean, I'm assuming it's not going to be, and maybe I don't know the whole process, but I know, you know, I'm used to various, every few years they change my policy, but I want to work. And sometimes there's this benefit, that benefits and stuff. Are we quoting, asking for specific quotes? Or are we asking for them to come back to us with what they think the best package is for us? And if it's the latter, if it's that second one, do we have a mechanism to be able to measure which quote is actually the better quote? Because it may not be a price thing at that point.
Through the chair, to Councilor Ward, because we have brokers through those services, we need to actually, and it's something I found out through the process after I had put the report forward, is that we need to have a broker mechanism first. So once we have the broker of record, then they will go and solicit quotes. But until we have that, we can't move to the next step, and that next step is included in what the broker service would provide. So we need to go and tender for broker service or request a quotation for broker services. And if we do happen to one of the parties that express interest can do the admin services as well, so that would be a separate item. So we're just looking strictly for broker service.
Okay, gotcha, thank you.
And it's safe to assume once we secure those broker services, then they will shop for the employee benefit packages and.
Correct, and we would also be able to use some of the results from the health and wellness survey as well, or that project to kind of see where we can make things a little bit better for the folks.
Good, so we're shopping for a broker.
We're not
We're changing it from services or from actually employee benefits to finding a broker first.
Yes, and the key thing with the broker as well is the term shall not exceed 5 years. So that way, every council term that comes up for discussion.
Okay, and we, I mean, again, I'm gonna make the assumption here, but well, I know we have broker, right, currently. And so we very well may end up with the same broker, but this is just putting it out to see what the options are.
Correct.
Okay, good. Everybody clear on what exactly they asked?
Is this, who's our broker of record now? Is it local?
WAP is our broker.
And where they from?
Mountain, I believe.
From where?
Mountain.
Okay, yeah. Very good, thank you.
Good?
Yep.
Okay. Moved, seconded, further discussion? No, hearing none. Call the question, all in favor? All right, let's get ourselves a vote. Yeah, continue. I'm just saying. Great, agricultural year update, and Deputy Mayor, I believe you have that.
Yes, I do, Mr. Mayor, moved by myself and seconded by Councilor Martel, municipal council receives United Counties leads in Miramar agriculture area review. Additional consultation report as information.
Thank you. Comments and questions on the additional consultation report? Yes, go ahead.
A couple, I do believe this is this, I thought I read in this that it's going. This will not be passed until their official plan of United Counties in 2026, is that right? Mr. CEO?
That is not.
I thought for sure I saw that. It's won't be coming in here until 2026. So what we're applying for here is additional information to all parties in United Counties or just us?
Through the chair, my understanding is the consultation period, the consultation will extend it throughout the United Counties. We'll call it public sessions at various locations. And in my understanding is that anyone that as it stands would have a change to with respect to going from to agricultural or vice versa, in those circumstances will receive that information with respect to that condition.
And one other thing, it states that if we want to have an open house in our municipality, we can. And if so, are we gonna take that up?
So through the chair, yes, we're looking to make sure that we just have one session.
In our township? Okay, thank you.
Further? Anyone?
No, I mean, I think I read it's similar to what the deputy mayor was reading, on page 34 of 117. Just that background paragraph where it sort of didn't say per se, it just said prior to 2026 is prior to the next review of the COP expected 2026. And I sort of thought maybe they were pushing it if there was. So what's the page?
Oh, yeah.
Page 34 of 117.
Counties prior to next review of their official plan expected in 2026. Sorry?
It said prior to, but I sort of
34,
thought,
117.
Yeah, no, it says.
yeah, so the only thing that they wasn't really worded in here, so it probably hasn't been, but has there been any indication? I mean, we talked a bit about agricultural zone lands, and I don't know if there's any room we're seeing from any conversations with regards to a compromise as far as the number. It's sort of I don't know, something along the lines of with our smaller rural lot sizes we're talking about. Any way that they would be considering allowing sort of the front parts of some of these ag lands to still be zoned, to still be separated into lots and stuff. And I know it's a conversation we've had in the past. I don't see anything here, but I'm wondering if there's any interest in that. But you know, from other people, I've heard from other people say it as well, including on our committees. So I don't know if there's anything there, but
through the chair, not understanding, I would say the core part of the package presented, based consultation, especially to other landowners creating impact. So I'm extending sort of that timeline into December, January, to ensure that there's sufficient consultation between the data us.
Yes.
So, may I get to you? So instead of being October, that was your deadline. I do believe that company, they're gonna go the first of the year in 2024. Extend it. Oh, that's good.
To make sure
And maybe the green belt will help us.
mail outs are presented, you see.
Well, probably will.
Yeah.
Good.
The opportunity to attend those public
I
sessions.
think maybe the green belt decision will have a lot to do with this too. Myself.
To the chair.
So I have a couple of comments and a couple of questions, because I spoke very passionately, obviously, to this one at County Council last week, and there's so many things with this Lear that I struggle with, and the fact that one of our counselors isn't understanding of what the planning portion of it is identifies that, because if you see your rural land change to agricultural, or prime agricultural, your ability to sever it is down, is zero, right? And that's what we're fighting for, because you know what you're asking is, you know, we're trying to get the potential for 4 severances. It erases that on all of these lands, right?
right, these would become agricultural lands. I get that, and I just, you know, I know that we've had lots of talks about it, and we've had interest from parties as well in the area. It's one of those things where I'd like them to consider that as well before we make this change. That's all.
Yeah, well, and I think it's worth noting, there was a considerable amount, I mean, I think, so here's, the deputy mayor moved the motion. I can't even remember, to delay it until 2026. We circulated it to all the member municipalities of United Counties. It's been taken up by 4. I think personally that somebody there did the math, and they felt that if we don't do further consultation, every member around the table at the United Counties wants more consultation. They feel that the process hasn't been done as transparently as it needs to be, and so everybody agrees with that, and they want to do it. So, but where we're struggling, and where the biggest part of the discussion at, and you should watch the video. You really should go and watch the United Counties video on this one. The biggest thing is that there's direction. You know, the United County approves its own official plan amendments, right? So the agricultural Lear is a United Counties official plan amendment. It needs to be done. Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing has indicated that it has to be done. We set the parameters for that, right? So when you go to the scoring system, Planscape has told the United Counties and the members, the directors, that number is gonna be 60. And that they may go as low as 40 to round out some of those areas at 60 to round them out. There's a group at the table that believes that it should be 70. And or as I've indicated, that the United Counties approved our official plan or reapproved our official plan in 2022, knowing full well that this had to be done. And in that official plan that they approved what we designated as prime agriculture area. So why are they telling us now, again, that we have to change that? So there are lots of questions to it. But what I've been told, and we changed the motion that was passed at counties to add a couple of words that gave us a lot of flexibility. So otherwise, I'm not sure the motion was going to pass even for additional consultation. But we don't have to accept it. But what it's giving us time now to do is to actually have the discussion with our residents and make sure that our residents have their voices heard, that they bring forth those, you know, the notion that we're presenting at the table that they don't want their land designations changed. And if they do that, then there'll be consideration given. Otherwise, it's probably going to stay the way that it is, because there'll be no consensus to back that up. The other thing that I'll say, and I struggle with this mightily, because, you know, if we look at Front of Young, they change by like 100 acres. Look at Westport, there's no change at all. So of course they're okay with the change. It doesn't affect their ability to grow, right? Where you look at ours and it goes from 1 in 5 acres of being agriculture to make it 1 in 3 acres to be agricultural designation. That's a huge, enormous change. So I asked, you know, the members that while they may be okay with the changes there, maybe they should make sure that every single member of the United Counties, before they vote, is okay with the changes that are being enforced or forced upon each individual municipality. Because if Elizabethtown Kitley isn't okay with it, why should I be okay with it? Right? Just because it's okay for us doesn't mean that we shouldn't have Elizabethtown Kitley's back on this process. We shouldn't be making a decision to limit Elizabethtown Kitley's or anyone's ability to grow in the way that they deem best. And that's ultimately what this is doing, right? If that vote goes through 6-4, then and we vote against it, it's 6 other municipalities of United Counties of Leeds and Grenville telling Edwardsburg Cardinal how it's going to grow for the next, you know, official plan anyway. And I started with that. It's not like it's a bridge that's being built. It's not like it's, you know, a simple thing like a road being plowed or just a philosophy. It's actually, you know, defining the way that our official plan goes. And you know, the planner has even said that, well, people can apply to have that designation changed. Well, why should they have to apply? They already have the designation. So I think it was a really good discussion. It came a long way. I know it's a passionate discussion. I hate to see landowners lose their designation. I fight for them all day long, but they're going to actually have to stand up and have some say. And that's what this will give us the ability to do. And I think it does it through the availability of a public meeting, but I think it'll also do it. Everyone that's in that score of 60 to 100 will get a letter from the United Counties. The one thing that I'm not clear on, and this is what I struggle with, and I'm going to ask staff about, is in that letter, will it be as the LEAR process to us is ridiculously confusing? And the information that I've been told on record is that it's not that hard to change an agricultural designation to rural, which I think we all know isn't necessarily the truth. So as a municipality, do we have any say in the letter that goes out to our residents do we know what's going to be in the letter that goes out to our residents? And, I mean, I think I'm setting up for failure because I don't think that there is, but, sorry, my apologies. I struggle with this, because if the letter is as confusing as the scoring system that goes along with the LEAR, I don't understand the scoring system one tiny bit. And there's so many things with, if you read into it, it allows, you know, if Councillor Martel says, well, I want a part of my land, then that consideration is automatically given and it's marked as prime agricultural land just because he asked. Well, that's not, like, to me, that ends up making it a political document, not an actual database decision-making document. And I think if, you know, and if you read through the LEAR, it gives you the ability of why your land should be pulled, but why your land should be added as well. And I think that's great. But if they're automatically adding land in, and they've admitted that they have put land in at owners' requests, you know, unless that land's been scored the same as everything else, it probably shouldn't be in there either. I mean, you're talking about a plan document that will shape for at least probably 10 years, it'll be approved. And if home ownership changes or that land ownership changes in 2 years, why should they limit somebody else's ability to use that land for the purpose that it actually was intended? So I struggle with a lot in what's going in the letter. You know, what will residents actually understand what's happening to their land? You know, will they know, oh, well, you know, what does it mean if my land changes from rural to agricultural, and, you know, that sort of thing. But the last comment that I'll have on it is that this municipality needs to comment as a governing body as well. I think we've made it clear, but we should also ask for those lands and make it very clear what we want to, you know, to happen with our rural lands and where we want development to happen. Because otherwise we're going to be told how that's going to happen by that upper level. And why they do that, you know, maybe it's Greenbelt, maybe it's not, I don't know. But I think that, you know, we're determined, or staff and whatever group sits at this table, I think that's exactly what we're here to protect over the next, you know, 20 to 40 years, is the rights of landowners to develop their land. So whether that's use it for agriculture, whether it's to build a house, or whether it's to add an industrial park somewhere that we currently don't think that one should be. So anyway, rant over. Good one.
Sorry, I started this.
No, I was coming, sorry, it's been coming for a while, and if you watch the video, that rant happens there as well. So my question is, and I only have one, and I'm sure that I just want it for the record, do we have any input to the letter at all?
Through the chair, we have not received a draft, they didn't get over the request from input to that, to my knowledge. And now I don't know if prior to those rewrites happening, whether we will receive a draft copy to provide some input. Highly unlikely.
Could we, if it was at council's will, could we request that you ask for that?
We can certainly ask for it. Yeah. We can certainly link it.
So that we
Yeah,
can
we
see
can
something?
see if we can. Receive at least the draft copy.
Well, I have two thoughts on it, and one is this: if we're not happy with the way the letter goes out, then we know that which landowners are being contacted, then we can send out our own letter, informing residents of exactly what's happening, so that they do know what's happening. If it's the same, you know, thing that try to define exactly what a LEAR is and, you know, blah blah blah, it's a very confusing and difficult thing to understand, and you stop reading after the first page. So depending upon what that letter says, we can send out our own to our own residents that are affected by this. The United Counties will have, you know, the where they send it in Edwardsburg Cardinal. And I think for the way this process has gone, I think it's worth the few dollars that it cost us to do that. So but I'd like to, instead of wasting money, I'd like to know exactly what that letter says first, and if it isn't clear to the residents exactly what's happening with their land or the potential restrictions that could come because of it. I think it needs to be that way.
And through the chair, I mean, I think another big part of the letter is, first of all, it should be nice and simple to say, you know, you, John Smith or Jane Smith. Your property is going from rural to agricultural, and at the same time, in that same letter, they've got to be communicating to say, and there is going to be a public meeting to discuss this at X date, X place, so that people know where to go and where to have this conversation with. Because if it's just a letter and then they try and advertise through social media or whatever, then it's happening. I think people are going to not get those two together. So we got to make sure that they're doing that. And to the mayor's point, if they're not doing it, then we have to, because somebody has to do it.
Yes.
Duly chaired to the CEO, do we know how many of our residents is affected by Lair? Like, or is there a way that we can find out, I'll rephrase that, is there a way that we can find out? How many in our township is affected by Lair, because we're affected. Are we? Right?
I would say like through the chair, I anticipate. I have that number. I don't know. We don't have that number at this moment.
No, but we,
But I would certainly. Think that would. Part of that process in order to mail out. On what cases may be affected and changing, we need to know. Properties that are.
agriculture, yeah.
So
Do we get to?
yeah, I don't know. So the Scott Road transfer site, which is on here for discussion tonight, or it's in the CAO's report. It's the engineering of a 60% it's done. That land becomes agriculture in the new OP. Would that have an effect on? That land is defined in the new agricultural leer as being part of the land that will have its land designation change, as well as the Scott Road transfer site. Like, those are the kind of things that I find perplexing in the review. You look at the mapping, those are all things that are included on it. And, you know, I mean, does it affect our ability to do that if they change that designation from whatever it is now to agricultural?
So certainly within minus as those things are, that's the whole part. That is the portion of what that conservation period is to get that information back to ensure that those changes are. I mean, there are a couple of areas that from the original mapping that were highly commercial. Were noted in that. So we certainly identified some of those areas and provided that we put back to the county with respect to that. But I'm not sure that they've fully updated that mapping yet, or they're using the same mapping as the original one until that entire consultation component is done. When that gets updated.
When you look at our official plan map, schedule A or B, I asked you for both, the one with the constraints on it and the one with the other one, so that I could show all the different layers. When we discussed that for our last OP and our last zoning, we made sure, and you can see it really clearly along the county roads, to your point, that wasn't included as the prime all the way up to the edge of the county roads. You can see where the line in the designation comes down, and it's very clear along those roads, like there's nothing along the very edges of them, so that you wouldn't restrict that development, because I think we recognize that the development would happen on existing infrastructure. We couldn't afford to create new infrastructure, that it had to be where existing infrastructure was, and that's where growth is going to happen. It's very clear in the mapping of that was done. So there's so many questions with this, so I just don't want to miss it, and I want to make sure that we have the opportunity to shout out when we can. I mean, shouting at that table, talking about it here in an empty room, unless somebody watches the video, how does somebody find out, or how does somebody know? So Okay, do we need to give you any direction on this?
I believe it's just the, resolution to receive the report.
Then we're receiving, there's no problem with the report. It's actually good news. Because there is more consultation, attempting to happen. So it's not bad news. It's a small win. My concern probably with the way that the way that it changes the timeline of the review is that if it goes to final public meeting or something like that, it's around the start of January that it happens. So it falls off of everybody's list through Christmas and disappears at the beginning of a new year. And I just struggle with it getting lost in that discussion. I'm not sure that would happen at Easter or the end of school or whatever, but it certainly coincides with the end of the year and around Christmas. So I do struggle with that bit of the process, but I think the change, at least the change to more consultations, a good thing. It's a start. So we need to move it. And it is it in front of me already? Yes, it is. All right, it was moved by the deputy and seconded by Joe. Okay, further comments, questions, and before I call the question. Ranted long enough? Okay. I'll call the question on receiving that report thing. All in favor? Sorry I took so long on that one. I'm glad. I was going. Correspondence, Councillor Smith.
Thank you, Your Worship. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Chris Ward. That the municipal council received the correspondence listings of the following dates as previously circulated. September 7th, 2023, September 13th, 2023, and September 20th, 2023.
Alrighty, anybody have any questions or comments on correspondence? Hearing none, I believe that in that correspondence, there's a letter from the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing that everyone should read. If they haven't already, there is, I believe, information in regard to the 29th. This Friday, I think, for the affordable housing. And it does, if everyone is reading the correspondence, it will show in their resolutions that are passed in other municipalities across Ontario, anything that we received. And it does show in one of the last ones where a couple of the Leeds and Thousand Islands, Elizabethtown have approved or moved the version of or the deputy mayor's motion as well. So all of that is tied up in your correspondence. So if you haven't taken the time to read it, I think you should take the time to read it.
And on just one note, we will be discussing the letter from Minister the MMAH, if you will, next week. So
Mr. Longer. Okay. All right. So received correspondence, then no further comments. Call the question then, all in favor. Good. Disbursements, Councillor Ward, I believe you have it.
Thank you. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Waddy Smail that municipal council receives the payment of municipal invoices circulated and dated as follows. Report dated August 30th, 2023-164, $181,601.40. Report dated August 30th, 2023-165 for $815,842.72. Report dated September 15th, 2023-172 for $114,386.28. Report dated September 19th, 2023-173 for $251,646.63. Report dated September 19th, 2023-174 for $167,951.49. And report dated September 19th, 2023-176 for $14,924.52 for a total of $1,546,353.04.
Thank you. Okay. we're receiving the payment of municipal invoices, so. Everybody loves this part. Does anyone have any comments or questions, if, so, in regarding, these, I'm going to list this on first, yes.
No, I noticed something and I got the question answered, but I didn't realize how much it costs to do the annual inspection of some of these trucks. Truck 7 is $6,610, just shy of. It's amazing the cost we spend on just keeping these things, I guess, on the road and getting safety from them, so. But it's not really a comment, more of a comment than a question. I don't think there's anything unusual about that on an annual basis, is it?
Through the chair, speaking with the director of operations, and I think a large portion of that, almost 50% of that from us is actually to the annual MTO inspections. So they're certainly more intensive with respect to that.
It's a lot of money for
Well, it isn't a lot for you, but you know what, I guess they have to use it.
yeah.
Okay, further, yes, you have, it, sorry.
Two. Page 45 of 117. Just a question, we had an ammonia leak at, was that the one in, Cardinal, Mr. Spencer? And what caused the leak? Like, was it like a hole or?
No, one of the gauges.
Oh, a gauge?
Yeah.
That was leaking ammonia? Okay. That was a knockdown call, I presume,
That is correct.
by the looks of it. Thank you. And everything's okay? Pressure running, good, pressure on, good. And thank you. Page 52, 117. Public Works T6 at the top, $3,500. And I don't know what the stabilizer arm repair, is that the same truck, T6? The 2014 International? Duly chaired to Mr. Shaw, the CEO.
Sorry, same truck, through the chair, same truck and switch.
It is?
I'm sorry, I'm not clear on which truck you're talking about, so.
Well, it says, invoice 752, Public Works T6 repairs, right? T6 is our international,
Yes.
2014 international, is that right? So we had a $3,540 repair, but there's a stabilized arm above that for $39.86. Is that the same?
Stabilizer arm, I believe, would be the plow attachment on the plow arm. And the T6 repairs are, I don't have a bill before me, but I suspect that would be another charge different work.
It'd be what, sorry?
For different work, I'm not sure, I don't have the.
Okay, so the stabilizer arm repair would be on this, on that same truck, though, T6 on the plow, you think?
I think so, my opinion, I believe it is, I'm not.
Okay,
positive,
could,
but that
could,
would be-
could you just send me an email on that, please?
You can, through the chair, we can use that information and also.
Okay, thank you so much. That's it.
Anyone else? All right, I will call the question on receiving the invoices, all in favor? Good, I will remind members, that you can ask those questions in advance of
I know.
meetings. I'm not saying that to you, buddy. If there's anything on there, no matter how big or small, if there's information on any of those that you want, you can ask that question in advance of a meeting, and if you feel that it's something that you need to bring up during a meeting, you can absolutely, I encourage you to do so. Okay, we are on to bylaws, which is the site plan control bylaw, and Councillor Martel, I believe you have that.
Moved by myself, seconded by Deputy Mayor Stephen Dillabaugh, that the mover be granted leave to introduce a bylaw to establish a site plan control area within the township of Edgeworth Cardinal, and this shall constitute first and second reading thereof.
Good. And first and second reading on site plan control, does anyone have any comments or questions before we proceed to third, or before I call the question to proceed to third reading? All right, all in favor of first and second reading? We'll go to third reading.
Moved by myself, seconded by Deputy Mayor Stephen Dillabaugh, that a bylaw to establish a site plan control area within the township of Edwardsburg Cardinal be now read a third and final time and finally passed, signed, sealed, and numbered 2023-47.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. All right, comments and questions before I ask for the vote on third reading? Nope. So none for me to sign then, all in favor? Bylaws almost in fact. What is? Okay, tree canopy and natural vegetation policy, Deputy Mayor, I believe you have that policy in front of you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, moved by myself, second by Council Martel, that the move will be granted leave to introduce bylaw to adopt the tree canopy and natural vegetation policy. And this shall constitute the first and second reading thereof.
First and second reading of the tree canopy policy, comments, questions on the policy before we go to third reading?
Just a small comment. I see that in 5.1, we still have working towards improvements on the tree canopy policy. I still don't think we need to improve it. I think it's fine the way it is, but just noting that again, that but it does seem to resolve itself in 6.1. It just seems like something that is extra wording. I didn't think we needed to put in there. That's all.
Policy. Yep. Further comments or questions before I call the question on first and second reading? All right, hearing none, all in favor? All right, proceed to third.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, moved by myself and seconded by Council Martel that the bylaw to adopt tree canopy natural nature vegetation policy be now read a third and final time, finally passed, signed, sealed, and numbered 2023-48.
All right, you want to note them again on third reading?
I could.
I just want to say thank you to staff. So, you know, the need to have this policy, is there. We do have to have a tree canopy policy for sure. And, I think that this is better reflective of what the council discussion is, and, certainly less respect or what's the word I'm searching for, help me, less restrictive than what the original version was. So I just wanted to say to staff, thank you for the revisions to this. I think it's much better than what it was. So thank you. Okay, further comments, questions at all, anyone? Hearing none, all in favor then third reading. Good, everyone? Yes. Okay, the Cardinal Arena naming sponsorship agreement, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, moved by myself, seconded by Councilor Martel, the move would be granted leave to introduce a bylaw to authorize the mayor and the clerk to execute sponsorship agreement with the Greenwood Inc. This shall constitute the first and second reading thereof.
All right, everyone's had time to read that again. Questions, comments before I call the question on first and second reading? Okay, all in favor? Good, go to third reading.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, moved by myself, I guess I better sign it, seconded by Mr. Martel, that the bylaw to authorize the mayor and clerk to execute sponsorship agreement with the Ingredient Inc. We now read a third time and finally read a third and finally passed, signed, sealed, and number 2023-49.
Thank you, Deputy. Questions, comments at all on that? Just a little brain fart on my part, but to the rec director or the CAO, is this contract the same as what the old one was? Is it?
To the chair. Yes, the contract ended 23rd September with the 10-year agreement.
Yeah.
CAO brings myself and with the plant manager called me 2 weeks ago. Talk about the possibility of renewing it. So the agreement is a 5-year renewal with an option for another 5 years.
Okay. And 5 at 8, so 40,000 again. Good, well done. You know, I guess I'll call the question then. So only questions, thank you. Anyone else? No, all in favor? Thank you, you know, Mike, to you anyone that worked, upon that and to, you know, the folks at Ingredion continue to, support, you know, our community in many ways, you know, jobs and certainly community activism on cleanup days and your money for the pool for swimming lessons and, you know, willingness to have their name on our arena and pay us. It seems like a very fair amount to do that. And so to staff for helping get that done, thank you. Appreciate it. SNC cost apportioning agreement, watershed programs and services, Councillor Smith, I think you have that.
I do, your worship, moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Chris Ward. That the mover be granted leave to introduce a bylaw to authorize the mayor and clerk to execute a cost apportioning agreement with South Nation River Conservation Authority, SNRCA, for the provision of watershed programs and services. And this shall constitute first and second reading thereof.
Okay, we had a good presentation from Mr. Bickerdike, and I can't remember what the other person's name was, but in regard to this, they assured us that 12% is out of the existing budget. It's not in addition to anything in that budget. I guess this is first and second reading. We can save this till third. But it's on the floor, so I can guess we can discuss it. Further comments or questions then?
I mean, I think we had a really good discussion about it. I was, you know, and I'm not concerned, but I think that they covered it well with regards to making sure that, you know, that we maintain service that we have today. It doesn't change anything from that perspective. And, you know, committee member, Hunter was really, you know, because he was on the board before, it was just really good discussion. So it was really reassuring to see that, because I do worry that we get caught as a, you know, as a small fish in a big pond in that kind of a group. But anyways, like I said, I feel reassured. I just wanted to make sure that that we had that discussion, because it was a concern at the time. So
Yeah, and it was, that discussion was rather reassuring in the fact that, you know, as one of those little fish, we certainly get a lot more food than the big fish get, right? In proportion to what we put in. So the services for dollars, and that's where Councillor Hunter's knowledge and expertise is very valuable, or Councillor Hunter, ex-Councillor Hunter, retired Councillor Hunter. His knowledge and his years of expertise come, you know, at a very, it's great for this group at this table to have that expertise to help us along the way and understand things that we may not quite understand. So sure. First and second, yes. Any further? No, all in favor? Okay, third reading.
Thank you, your worship. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Chris Ward, that a bylaw to adapt, authorize the mayor and clerk to execute a cost apportioning agreement with South Nation River Conservation Authority, SNRCA, for the provision of watershed programs and services. Now be read a third and final time. Finally passed, signed, sealed, and number 2023-50.
Thank you. Before I call the third and final reading, does anyone have any final comments or questions? Hearing none, then I will call the question. All in favor? There we go. And we are on to the procurement policy, which I believe Councillor Martel, you have that.
Moved by myself, seconded by Deputy Mayor Stephen Dillabaugh, that the mover be granted leave to introduce a bylaw to adopt a procurement policy, and this shall constitute first and second reading thereof.
Changes to the procurement policy. Anyone have any comments before I go to third, or before I call the question for first and second? Hearing none, then all in favor? Okay, unanimous, we can proceed to third.
Moved by myself, seconded by Deputy Mayor Stephen Dillabaugh, that a bylaw to adopt a procurement policy be now read a third and final time, and finally passed, signed, and sealed, and numbered 2023-51.
Thank you. Councillor Martel. Questions, comments again on the policy? No, I think one thing that's been indicated from, you know, one of the changes in there that it will give it will give staff, you know, that small, that increase up to 75,000, right, which will. Prevent things from having, that are approved, from having to come back to council, allowing, you know, for, you know, more speed and delivery of purchases, things like that. So, gives us a lot more flexibility, I think, than what we previously had. So, to staff, you know, good new bylaw. I hope that it has the desired effect. To council, if we're concerned about that number at all, we, in our budget, we, we set the number. That's your safety mechanism. I know that neither our CAO or our Fort GM spend like it's not their money. They certainly are very respectful of spending, and I don't mean to imply anything otherwise. But when I know everybody's budget conscious, especially when it comes to things like vehicles and stuff like that, we set that number during budget. They approve it. It just expedites the process a little bit. So, further comments, anyone? Yes.
Yeah, through the chair to staff, I'd like to do the shout out of thanks on this one, you know. Echoing what the mayor said, my biggest challenge and frustration on being on council was coming from a different background where, you know, time is money and you try to do everything efficiently and effectively as you can. This expedites things a little bit, and if I could do anything for the next generation of people sitting in this chair, here's a gift for you. We're making it easy. This is a baby step, but it is a step, and thanks a lot.
Good. Well said, Councilor Martel. Much better than that. Further comments, questions? No. All right, then all in favor of third reading. And then we are on to the CAO's administrative update. Put it on the floor first. Is that okay? Okay, so Councilor Ward, I believe you have that. Yep.
Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Waddy Smail, that municipal council receives the CAO's administrative report as presented.
Thank you. CAO, your report, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Page one, with respect to a couple of zoning bylaw amendment public meetings scheduled for October 23rd. Looking to hear 2084 and 2073 for the Street. So notices that with respect to that, we're going to get later this week. National Day for Truth and Reconciliation will be office going to close on Monday, October 2nd, to recognize the national holiday. And also you will notice upon approach to the meeting tonight that banners are going up in Cardinal John Steele Central for this week, and I put out from Dale on the 3rd. But just a short update on the health and wellness assessment. So our consultant has conducted the interviews, collected feedback, and prepared some initial findings. Last week we had 3 focus groups with representatives from all departments participating, and anticipating that we should have a final report with some recommendations in the next couple of weeks. So I think it feedback from those that have participated so far is that it's been a good undertaking for the organization. With respect to secondary suites, working with the counties of Leeds and Redmond, County of Prescott, and County of Augusta, working on a public information session on secondary suites to take place later this fall. Yes, so note just with some of the proclamations that have taken place this month. Legion Week from September 17th to September 23rd. The National Day for Truth and Reconciliation, September 30th. And in early October, Fire Prevention Week, October 8th to 14th. With respect to bylaw, so proactive and reactive items with respect to the clean yards, that's sort of that predominant area through spring, summer, and into early fall. One item that I had forgot to note within the update was just the Thanksgiving harvest that will be taking place at the Union Place on October 4th, between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. And if anyone's interested, please RSVP by the end of the week, by September 25th. On page 2, with respect to treasury, tax sale, so just a little information that the property in question was registered for with real tax in July of 2022. Really one year in July 2023 without the payment plan established, and once it reaches the threshold, it goes into tax sale, and really the only option remaining for the property owner in question is to pay the arrears plus any costs to that tax sale. So that tax sale date closing is October 11th, 2023. With respect to facilities and recreation, Spectrum Arena up and running, started the first sessions on Ramsden Saturday. Also under recreation and facilities, we received that pre-assessment from Save Nation Conservation. So there are 16 trees that they recommend full removal, of 15 of which are in that nature park area. And the planting plan would be to plant 25 new trees, ranging in caliper size from 50 millimeters to 125 millimeters. So that RFP will be issued tomorrow, and we will look to work with Civic Nation to get that planting plan and schedule for later this fall with those replacement trees planted. The other item that I had missed in my report was with respect to the capital project at North Channel Cemetery with the masonry work. That has been completed, and staff and Mr. Robertson from with respect to the North Channel, I'm very pleased with the work was performed.
That's good.
It's good news to have that in place. I didn't think that was I think it was 2 years in the making, but we were able to get that accomplished. Page 3 of 5, Mary Street outlet. So there was the on-site meeting with the adjacent residents today. That went very well with the contractor present. The contractor right now is waiting for a part. So hopefully that part comes in relatively quickly, and we can get rolling on that project. I'll always have to be a little something for with respect to Hands Road. So today the stop sign and a stop sign ahead was placed on Hands Road in conversation and discussion with the site. And new parking lot in the Regional Center, where a little bit of smoke with respect to Enbridge gas and that high pressure gas line with respect to coordinating that on site, because there will need to be a representative on site for a portion of that of the excavation. So we're hoping to get that rolling in short order. On page 4, with respect to the County Road 2 project, the underground infrastructure is progressing well. One meeting installation is almost complete. Working on, we'll be working on the sanitary portions with respect to phase 2 and phase 3. We have had some comments with respect to that. I don't know why we're digging that area back up again. The reality is that the required separation and need to be separate trenches compared to what used to be decades ago. It does take a little bit longer, but as of right now, we anticipate that majority of the work will be done and first lift of the asphalt will be on by early December. We anticipate that final lift of asphalt will likely move into 2024, but we'll monitor that closely. Municipal drains with respect to the Newport Canada Road 2, so most of that open channel work has been completed. I believe Wednesday is the scheduled date for they will be replacing the box culvert that goes under Windmill Road. That only really impacts the port at that gate. The port's been aware of the project and no issues in that regard. If you recall, a month ago, we received the Mainsville Road and the Black Creek culvert that double culvert has been replaced. With respect to page 5, fire department, the women of fire boot camp, that the Leading Mountain Island Training Center on September 16th and 17th with 16 women participating. With respect to fleet, the annual service and safety inspections have been completed on all the large apparatus with no major repairs required. The annual pump testing was scheduled for October 10th, and I believe it will be the same as the last couple of years that are stock and test that pump test for efficiencies. And the last item will be the annual EMS boot camp happening on October 12th, which is take place at the fire station on the line of Central Fairgrounds.
Good, detailed report, lots of things going on, and I'm going to open it to the group for some questions. I see Councillor Ward.
Yeah, I just.
anxiously waiting.
I am, yeah. I want to get the first in on this, because I know every time I do these things, somebody else jumps to it before. So I just want to thank staff for helping on around the fair for the entire Prince Central Fair as well as the fairgrounds. It's in the report. I think they did a great job. It was really good to see that collaboration, and you know, I know from conversations I've had with people that that was really appreciated, and it really helped them out a lot for sure. They wanted or volunteers are hard to find sometimes. It's also thank you very much for that. Was that one comment. The other comment, and I guess I forgot to ask just a little bit about it, but sorry, so to say sorry about that, but this thermal imaging camera for the fire department, I see they're doing a 50-50 draw for it. Is that not something that we normally would just take care of? I mean, that's an expense that they can have, isn't it? It's equipment they would need.
So through the chair to council, they're just utilizing the funds from the field day 50-50 draw. I think that in that particular part, yes, we would go in, but I think there'll be 3 cameras instead of 2, so that's a portion you cover that third camera.
Okay, sounds good. And you guys are going door to door is what I see on September 30th. Is that the plan? It's like a lot of work, as we all are aware when we knock on doors for an election.
So through the chair, my understanding is there's some planning and work. I'm not necessarily sure that that's going to take place and how widespread that will be.
Okay, that's fine.
Comments, questions, Councillor Smale, anything? Deputy?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, to the CEO, the tax sale roll. Is that a home or vacant land?
Through the chair, that would be residential. That's home.
And thank you. Didn't want to hear that. And our meeting today, you said went very well on Mayor Street. everything except for the park.
through the chair,
But
residents were certainly pleased to be involved in the conversation. I believe that, couple of points were noted with respect to a few trees that residents would like to see remain if at all possible, and the contract is receptive to try to keep those as best we can, and we're learning just a few little bits of information with respect to plot and make that go as smooth as possible.
at the end of the day, happy.
Morning, Chair, all indications are pleased that we want this machine.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Dor. Thank you, Mr. CEO on that one. That's it for me.
I have a couple. One's more curiosity, but with the bylaw report, do we know? Like for any of the things that are going to POA, like to the provincial fences, are the cases being heard? Are we getting any feedback on, you know, any of those cases? I mean, at the counties, we talk about it a little bit in that, you know, they're up to about 3/4 capacity, but have we seen an increase in speed? I mean, it's taken a long time for a lot of cases to get in front of the court, so are we starting to see a speed up, and are people starting to pay fines, or?
We're through the chair, we're going to think that she may have a little bit more information with respect to the speed at which
Chair, some of the minor POA infractions, we're seeing a very, very minor
Slow.
uptake.
Slow, slow.
There's still quite a long turnaround process, for just processing ones that have to be with parking.
Yeah.
Here.
Yeah.
Or we're just seeing some progress on that, it all depends on if it is guilty, not guilty, then there's a whole other process that can be delayed. In other POA, cases for some of the that go to trial, there is still a very slow process on that. That there's multiple factors.
Yeah.
So it's hard to say it directly a result of POA or sometimes a result of the plaintiff. There's some other factors too. For the minor ones, there has been a slight increase in to getting COVID pretty much shut down for almost 2 years.
Mhm. Yeah, it's been said at county, you know, one of the, you know, the half day in Kemptville is no longer, so there's nobody there, but there's also such a lack of JPs to actually do the job, and then there seems to be a delay in appointing those folks and going through the process of getting them appointed, so just wondering if we noticed it. Yeah, it's speeding up, but we certainly, I know in our budget, we chose to believe that would almost get back to normal this year. At United Counties, we're still not there yet, so. Anyway, that question, the other one, and it, gas line, so high pressure gas line in that parking lot. Is there a way to position the parking lot so that it's not messing with the gas line, or no way?
Well, through the chair, that parking lot, this portion that has a kind of angle parking out to the road. The line is right in that road.
Either way, you're
I
gonna,
think they're probably striking on the side of caution with bringing this up. The public works manager has been in contact with them, trying to contact to say, we expedite this a little bit. There was also some concern about the area between the Oval Park and the Rail Spur. And I'm not sure anything that's in there, but for some reason they also, that's the other parking lot. So trying to get that sorted out.
okay. Just a question with that, and the last one I think that I have is the health and safety audit. The process has moved along well. Are we achieving what we expected to achieve with it? You know, I know we don't have a final report yet, but is the feeling that we're we're getting where we thought we needed to go?
I think through the chair, I can comfortably say from my position that I'm very pleased that the project has rolled out, and I think we're touching on those areas that needed to be touched on, and I think the consultant has done a very good job of capturing that information. I'm confident that we will have a good working job.
Good. I look forward to the final report, so, yeah, thanks for that. Further questions for the CAO and all on the report? Call the question then, all in favor? Good. Thank you for such a good, fulsome report to the CAO. I guess one other question is there's, I know the director of operations is here. I know that director of facilities is here. Would we not usually expect, the chief, or Chris or Eric to be at council meetings as well, or no, in case anyone had questions?
Through the chair, not typically, most of those items,
Maybe.
I can also come through committee. I think it would be more likely that president than committee to answer any questions.
Okay, good. And then that means that we are on to inquiries and notice of motion. Does anyone have an inquiry or notice of motion? Go ahead.
I probably should have brought this up a second ago. It's through the chair to the CEO, the bylaw enforcement question. I get calls often, this guy's got a pile of garbage in his yard or something, and I have to call him to the office, and the office tells me the guy is already in the queue, and then I have to get back to the neighbor saying the guy is in the queue. Two questions: would it be possible to put something on the website just explaining exactly how the bylaw procedure works, so that it's not an overnight thing, that this is how it works, and yeah, it's going to take a few months / years, whatever. The second part of that, is there a list anywhere of the properties that are already in the bylaw thing that can be available to council so that we can?
Yeah, I think through the chair, the second question, first question, one item that would be useful when this approach is to ask them to also make sure that they go through the report of concern portion that we have on our website. Because one of the advantages of going through that report about certain portion is that we want to get so a service request number that they'll be able to follow up on and contact. It is not very efficient for the resident to come to the council, they're not going to know that information because sort of going through that process and the far better that contact but we can certainly look to see if there might be something that we can look at on the website with respect to like timing, because it can come on process because the reality is what we're hoping and aiming for is eventual compliance, not enforcement. So we're going to try to work with the homeowner as long as we possibly can forward to that direction. So patience in that regard. We'll see if we can find potentially or something easy that might be able to do.
Can't identify.
No, we can't certainly identify, but I think we can
explain the process better.
Maybe it's
Like lots of it.
What's that dashboard that we have? Wasn't there did we not pay for a module that was going to allow us to have a dashboard that you know, the report a concern, report a complaint where we could see where those, if those complaints we're dealing with, and they were gonna show us that they were going to, I know this isn't a discussion item, and I shouldn't jump in, but
So council would not have access to module with respect to bylaw enforcement.
also it'd only be a pothole. So like we called it a pothole, like you might see the pothole, and the work order had been given out, but we wouldn't see a work order given out in respect to bylaw enforcement.
You would not.
Right, and it's important not to get involved
Correct.
in bylaw, I mean. Procedural wise, you take the complaint from the resident, you bring the complaint forward to the CAO, you make sure the CAO. Has the complaint, and then you report back that you passed that complaint along, and then if they ask for follow-up, then. You know, you can follow up with the CAO, and you gotta be careful not to.
And Mr. Martel, it is a long.
It's a long process, it's very frustrating.
But
Very frustrating.
in all fairness,
No, I'm
I
not
like
complaining
how
about
it
the
works.
process, but the perception, I'm gonna speak to some residences, you know, he's gonna complain, somebody's gonna be there in half an hour with a tow truck to get.
Yeah.
It doesn't work.
Doesn't work that way.
Yeah, it's something that can outline how it actually
But
works.
I love the way he's working.
And I saw the clerk's hand was up.
Chair, we can definitely try to give it very general outline. We have very general outline in our procedure. However, that is, the high gold star level expectation. If you receive 100% compliance, if the individual is pushing back, if there is 101 other things that are going on with that complaint that generate other things that we've discovered. So giving a general outline, and that's the be all and all goal. So if somebody sees that, they're gonna have that expectation that that compliance should be gained within a 2-week period.
Yeah.
That doesn't always happen. Sometimes if it goes to, they're trying to comply, but there's a time frame that they need to work around, where there's 101 factors going on with that property or that person. That's not gonna be achieved. Rather than go through an automatic set point, we try to work with those individuals. If we see that that doesn't happen, then it may go to a set point. Then they can pay that, or it can go to POA. Then that could be, we don't know.
That's perfect. Can you just record that and put it on?
You just did, you just did.
Okay, go to this meeting, go.
We notify them, we give them a timeline. They identify it, they don't, sometimes it's not understood, sometimes they need additional help or assistance. Other times it's just, if they don't want to comply, we work with them again and try and gain compliance with other methods. If it still goes through that fine, if it goes to a summons, we do a full another process again. That takes even longer to go through the court system. We look at years, unfortunately.
That's exactly what I need, I just need it in a format that I can pass the words on to the resident.
And I think, you know, what your inquiry shows is, and we've talked about this before, and it's been a mandate of this council, is that we need some way to communicate a little bit better. Not just with bylaw, but with many things, and it's a discussion you need to have that your committee at some point, we think, further. So,
But I do say, you know, I don't wanna, at the risk of jumping into this conversation, get them to file a report as well. A report of concern is maybe not the best term for it, but at a kid, we haven't with anything different. That's the way to get your mechanisms to get that the reporting back to the citizens themselves, right? So residents themselves.
you had one.
I have, yes, I'd like to have a notice of motion for next Monday at CDC meeting. Under our official plan zoning bylaw amendment. I would like to see it coming forward, that the official plan amendment number 1 comes forward, not number 2. To be discussed for the community development. CDC, please.
So without turning this into a discussion to the CAO, so is it on the agenda for next Monday, the official plan amendment
The consent.
Discussion.
Consent policy review, it's on the.
And- Are both options there?
No,
Is option one there?
modified option 2, which was discussed at the CDC. For the last time. Was not one,
Okay,
but
so from a bringing a notice of motion. The deputy's indicated that he's going to bring a notice of motion that indicates number 1. So. As it's written. So could that be included then so that it can be fully debated, fully discussed?
maybe best to include the background information that was provided at last meeting, which hasn't been.
And if he wants to bring that motion forward, he's brought the notice of it now. If he chooses to bring that forward at that meeting and he can find a seconder, then by all means, we can have a vote on it, correct? Is that good?
Yeah,
I'm good with that. I don't want to turn it into a
No,
debate or discussion
no,
tonight.
it's
It's
just, it's coming, yeah.
It's just unfortunate because that was president last meeting, but.
We're not. We never voted on it last meeting, correct? We just,
The direction was to come back with a modified, amendment number 2.
so did we ever vote on 1 or 2 in the last meeting? Because if we did, we can't go back and vote again a second time on the same.
Well,
Procedurally, we're not allowed,
we
so,
didn't vote.
so then,
There were options.
did we vote to approve number 2?
The direction was to come back.
We defer.
We defer.
I think we defer.
The director, the way I understood it. Staff would support amendment 1. That's how we left.
Let's not turn it into
No.
a debate. Let's not turn it into a debate.
So plain, yeah, I think plain and simple, there's an option for amendment number 1. There's an option for amendment number 2. Staff's recommendation was amendment number 2.
I never voted on. Right,
So,
my question is, did we vote on it? Because if we voted on approving one of them, then we can't revisit it. That's all I'm worried about. Otherwise,
it was not voted on.
okay, so then the request then is okay, that it, yeah, I understand your concern, I get it, that's part of the debate we can have next Monday night. But the notice of motion is that he wants that condition number 1 included, or he's gonna bring it forward, so he's gonna bring it forward. No, I'm good, as long as we're not breaking, I just don't wanna break procedural. I like procedure, I don't wanna break it, so. Even when I do, so. Okay, so that's it for notices of motion, anybody else? Good, thanks. Mayor's report, quickly. And you might be able to speak a little bit to this, because you were a busy guy last week, over the last couple of weeks too, so. Just reminding everyone that there is an affordable housing summit this coming Friday. In North Grenville. I know it's a concern of every single members here at the table. I do not know if every single one of you are registered. But I believe if you want to register, you can contact the clerk or the deputy clerk, and one of them will help you. Get registered if it's not already sold out. The Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, the new Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, Minister Calandra will be there. For that discussion, as well as many other important people giving tons and tons of information out. So if you're not registered, contact staff and get registered. The deputy mayor and I the same day will be leaving that to head to Greenfield Global on Friday. I think it's at 10:30 to partake in the official opening of the new portion of Greenfield Global. You know, the CAO already mentioned last week was Legion Week. I know the DM and council attended, I believe, Tuesday night in Spencerville. I think it was well attended. I can't speak to it. I was at work. I couldn't attend. And I know on Friday, Friday was canceled.
Friday was canceled.
I did not know it was canceled. Okay.
Sorry.
I was in Florida, so I couldn't attend either. Remind everyone again that. And I meant to comment on truth reconciliation in your report. That we're going to have that discussion at some point about it being a recognized holiday for everyone, but on just remind everyone at the table that September 30th is Truth and Reconciliation Day. And I think the last thing that I have on Mayor's report is just again, and we will see a proclamation for fire prevention week as well, right? I think it's October 8th to the 15th, right? Something like that. Yeah. Okay, and did you have anything you wanted to add? I mean, I do so many events in my absence that,
We were at
you know,
the Grimlow CFPC on Friday, which was well attended. They're doing a great job of the business and tourism. They have bigger plans for this year, so it looks like a very positive outlook for that. So, and yes,
I do. So Thursday, it was United Counties first, then I went to Smith Falls for Health Unit Road meeting, but then after that, I went to the Aquatarium at the end of the day for volunteer appreciation awards, long time volunteer appreciation awards, and it was very notable to me that we didn't have any nominees, and I know that is up to community organizations in our community to nominate folks that have served for a long time. There was Bernie Davey from the Grenville Snowmobile Club, sorry, was there. He got 50 years worth of volunteer service, and his wife Ann was there as well, and she got 45 years. Combined service between those two folks, 95 years. I know we have volunteers in Edwardsburg Cardinal. I challenge the group around the table to find some people so that we have people at that volunteer appreciation next year. Watching the 50 or I think it was up to 100 people that were there being honored and recognized for their commitments. We need some people at that. So let's find some folks to nominate. Let's get them up there. That's the last thing. All right, Mayor's report. Who's got it?
thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself and seconded by Councilor Martel. That Municipal Council sees the Mayor's report as presented.
All right. Comments or questions in regarding my report? Seeing none, call the question. All in favor? Of course. Question period. There's no one here. There's no one online. There's no reporter questions. Good. We do not have a closed session, do we? Perfect. Great. The confirmation bylaw, Councilor Smith.
Thank you, Your Worship. Moved by myself, seconded by Councilor Chris Ward, that a bylaw to adapt, confirm, and ratify matters dealt with by resolution be now passed, signed, sealed, and numbered 2023-52.
Confirmation bylaw, bringing into effect everything that we've done tonight. Questions on the confirmation bylaw? No, hearing none, I'll call the question. All in favor, of course. Then we can move to adjournment. Councilor McLeod.
Moved by myself, seconded by Deputy Mayor Stephen Doval. The municipal council does now adjourn at 8:06 p.m.
And 7 minutes to 1. All in favor? We're there.
Dave, the official plan, meeting Thursday night.